Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into a really big idea today. What if? What if the grand architecture of the cosmos is actually, secretly, just a reflection of our own minds?
Have you ever noticed how our big scientific theories about the universe, well, they kind of sound like ancient myths? It's a fascinating thought, right? The idea here is that our stories about the cosmos aren't just built on data. They might be shaped by a hidden blueprint, a blueprint that's already inside our own minds.
So to really get this, to understand this blueprint, we've got to go back to the psychologist Carl Jung. He had this incredible concept of an unconscious architect living inside every single one of us.
Okay, so Jung came up with something pretty revolutionary. He suggested that underneath all of our personal memories, our unique experiences, there's something else, a deeper, universal layer of the mind. He called it the collective unconscious. And get this, he believed it's a psychic system that's basically identical in all people everywhere.
So here's a really good way to picture this. Think of your personal unconscious. Your forgotten memories and feelings. That's like the local storage on your computer. It's all yours. But the collective unconscious, that's more like a shared cloud drive for all of humanity. It's filled with these patterns and files that, in a way, we can all access.
All right, so what's in this shared cloud drive? Well, Jung called the contents archetypes. Now, these aren't like fully formed specific pictures. They're more like innate tendencies, blueprints for ideas. They push us to form certain kinds of stories and symbols over and over again. The hero, the wise old sage, the shadow. They're the fundamental building blocks of our myths, our dreams, and, as we're about to see, maybe even our science. So for this explainer, we're going to zero in on these 4 key archetypes. Why? Because you'll see they pop up again and again and again. And not just in old myths, but in our most cutting-edge, modern scientific stories about the universe. Okay, so now for the really cool part. Where exactly do these ancient mental patterns show up in modern cosmology? Let's map it out, and I think some of these connections are really going to surprise you. First up, let's go right to the beginning, the very start of everything we know, the Big Bang singularity. I mean, this is a concept that pushes our brains to the absolute limit. It's this point of infinite density, a place where science itself basically throws up its hands and says, yeah, our current laws of physics just break down here. Now, hold that thought about the singularity, and let's look at a Jungian archetype called the self. In Jung's framework, the self is the ultimate organizing principle for our whole mind. It's the archetype of total unity, of wholeness. It's the center point from which everything else in our personality emerges.
See the connection? It's pretty wild. The cosmological singularity ends up being a scientific symbol for that exact same idea. It's this unknowable, unified source from which everything springs forth. The parallel between the origin of the cosmos and the center of the psyche is, well, it's pretty striking.
All right, next up, let's talk about one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, terrifying images in all of cosmology, the black hole. You know the deal. It's a place of no return, where gravity is so intense that everything, even light, just gets consumed and vanishes from our known universe.
Well, this idea perfectly mirrors Jung's shadow archetype. The shadow is that part of ourselves that we're afraid of, the part we try to repress. It's where all our chaotic instincts and our darkest impulses live. It's the ultimate unknown, inside of us.
So what's so incredible here is that the black hole gives a physical, cosmic form to this deep, collective dread. It's almost like we've projected our deepest fear of the unknown out into the universe, and we found it staring right back at us. But, the universe isn't all just about dramatic beginnings and terrifying ends. Modern cosmology has shown us something incredible. It isn't just a bunch of stuff floating in empty space. It's a massive, interconnected structure. They call it the cosmic web. Galaxies are linked together in these huge filaments, almost like neurons in a giant brain.
And this amazing structure, it really resonates with an archetype that Jungians call the feminine principle. Now, it's super important to be clear here. This has nothing to do with gender. It's a symbolic pattern,
an archetype that emphasizes connection over separation, relationship over isolation, the whole interconnected web of things. So, these patterns aren't just showing up in cosmic objects like black holes and singularities. They also creep into the way we tell the stories about the scientists themselves. We end up turning their lives and their work into, well, modern myths.
Just take a look at the huge debate back in the 20th century between the Big Bang Theory and the steady-state model. This wasn't just a dry argument about data points. No way. It was a total clash of psychological narratives. On one hand, you had the Big Bang, this dramatic origin story that sounds a lot like old creation myths. And on the other, you had the steady-state model, which gave us this elegant vision of an eternal, unchanging, stable cosmos.
And get this, the story of Georges Lemaitre, the guy who came up with the Big Bang Theory, it fits the classic hero's journey archetype almost perfectly. Seriously, he gets the call with this radical new idea. Then he faces rejection from the scientific establishment. But in the end, he returns with this incredible gift, this boon for all humanity, a totally new way of understanding the cosmos, which was eventually proven right.
And you see this same heroic pattern play out again and again. Think about someone like Stephen Hawking. His incredible personal story of overcoming these immense physical challenges to unlock the secrets of the universe. It transformed him into a modern myth. He became a blend of the hero and the wise sage archetype.
Okay, so this brings us to a really crucial point. What does all of this mean for science itself? I mean, if our scientific theories are being shaped by these ancient, unconscious patterns, are they still truly objective?
Now, before we get too carried away, it is super important that we address a major criticism of this whole Jungian framework. Because I'm sure you're wondering, can you actually prove any of this?
And the honest answer is, not really. This is what's known as the falsifiability problem. Critics correctly point out that you can't really test Jung's ideas in a traditional scientific way. You can't prove or disprove an archetype. So it's best to think of this as a powerful lens for interpreting stories and finding meaning. It's often called a psychological mythos, a really compelling way to understand the world, but not a hard scientific theory itself.
But look, the point here isn't to disprove science. Not at all, far from it. The goal is to just recognize that the human mind isn't a blank slate. We come preloaded with these symbolic languages and narrative structures, and we use them to make sense of everything, including the universe. The scientific data is real, absolutely, but the story we tell about what that data means, that comes from inside us.
And so, this leaves us with one last, really provocative thought. It kind of challenges the very idea of discovery. When we look out into the vastness of space, how much of the story we see is an objective truth just waiting for us to find it? And how much of it is just a reflection of ourselves staring back from the darkness?